Hey there, lovely lot. Wherever you're tuning in from and whatever time of day it is for you, I hope you're settling in nicely. Fancy hitting that like button and maybe even subscribing if you're enjoying the journey. We're about to step into another world entirely. Right, let's go. We're stepping back, way back, to a rather peculiar autumn in the year 1888. You find yourself standing on a damp, cobbled London street, the chill already seeping into your bones despite the weak sunlight. A thick fog, not yet fully dispersed, still clings to the taller buildings, muting the distant sounds of horse-drawn carriages and hawkers. You pull your coat tighter, a shiver running through you that has little to do with the cold. Before you, a grand, imposing doorway beckons. Its heavy, dark oak, intricately carved, hinting at a quiet solemnity within. As you push, the wood groans a deep, resonant sigh, and the door swings inwards with a surprising ease. The world outside instantly recedes, its cacophony muffled, distant, like a dream you're rapidly forgetting. And then it hits you, the scent. It's immediate, overwhelming, yet utterly comforting. The rich, earthy fragrance of old paper, hundreds of years of stories and forgotten thoughts, mingles with something sweeter, a warm, subtle note of beeswax from polished wood and flickering candles. You breathe it in deeply, letting it fill your lungs, feeling a strange sense of homecoming. Dust motes dance like tiny, frantic fairies in the shafts of light slicing through tall, arched windows, illuminating towering shelves that seem to touch the very heavens. You step further inside, your footsteps swallowed by thick rugs that line the central aisle. Your gaze sweeps upwards, then around, taking in the dizzying array of knowledge. Leather-bound volumes, some pristine, others worn smooth by countless hands, stretch as far as your eye can see, creating silent, formidable walls of wisdom. The air here feels heavy, imbued with the weight of history, a quiet reverence. You reach out, your fingers brushing against the spine of a particularly ancient-looking tome, the leather surprisingly soft, almost velvety beneath your touch. There's a faint, almost imperceptible warmth emanating from it, or perhaps that's just your imagination. You wander deeper, a strange quiet enveloping you. It's not an empty silence, but one pregnant with unspoken narratives, with the whispers of authors long gone, of readers who once sat in these very hallowed halls. You glance over your shoulder, convinced for a moment you're not entirely alone, but the vastness of the library stretches out, empty save for yourself and the endless rows of books. Yet you feel a presence, a watchful, benign energy that seems to flow from the very walls, from the quiet dignity of the place. You find yourself drawn to a small, secluded alcove where a single, sturdy wooden chair sits awaiting. In a place like this, amidst the enduring scent of beeswax and old paper, you can almost feel the continuity of time. Everything outside feels fleeting, but here, the past isn't just remembered, it breathes. It truly makes you wonder, doesn't it, how much of our own stories are already waiting on a shelf, just waiting to be read or perhaps to be written. You sink into the sturdy wooden chair, its seat surprisingly firm beneath you, yet welcoming. The quiet here in this secluded alcove isn't just an absence of sound. It's a palpable presence, a thick velvet blanket muffling the world, pressing gently against your ears. The distant city hum is entirely gone, replaced by the soft creak of settling wood, the almost imperceptible rustle of your own clothing. You breathe out slowly, feeling the tension in your shoulders ease, a peaceful solemnity beginning to settle around you. Your fingers trace the smooth, cool grain of the small oak table before you, its surface worn to a dark sheen by generations of scholars and dreamers. You notice a faint, almost invisible etching near the edge, not a crude scratch, but a deliberate, delicate carving. It's a simple, intertwined knot endlessly looping with a tiny, stylized flame at its center. It feels profoundly significant, like a secret emblem meant only for those who truly seek. Your gaze travels to the wall of books immediately surrounding you in this tucked-away corner. These aren't the grand, imposing volumes of the main hall. These are smaller, older, their leather covers faded to shades of charcoal and mahogany, some showing the intricate tooling of forgotten binders. One particular book, thicker and heavier than its neighbors, draws your attention. It's bound in dark green, almost black, and sits slightly ajar on the shelf, as if waiting. You reach for it, your fingertips brushing against the cool, dry leather, feeling the texture of its age. It's surprisingly heavy, a solid block of condensed knowledge and untold histories. As you carefully pull it free, a faint puff of ancient dust rises, shimmering in the last rays of sunlight filtering through a high window. You ease the book open, the binding protesting with a soft, dry groan. The pages are thick, almost like vellum, yellowed with age, and the typeface is elegant, precise, a testament to meticulous craft. On the very first page, beneath a beautifully illustrated title page, a single handwritten inscription dominates. It's written in a meticulous flowing script, the faded ink against the aged paper still utterly clear in its message. It reads, "To those who guard the quiet wisdom and whose hearts are bound by truth. Let these pages be your solemn oath." You trace the words with a tentative finger, feeling the slight indentations in the paper, the almost ghostly presence of the hand that pennied them. The air in the alcove seems to thicken, heavy with the weight of that silent promise, that unspoken covenant. It feels as if every single book in this vast library is humming with the echoes of oaths taken, of pledges to knowledge, to truth, to stories, stretching back through generations. And for a fleeting, powerful moment, you feel it too, a silent, profound understanding settling deep within you, as if you've just become part of that ancient, enduring vow. It's a strange thing, isn't it? How a few faded words discovered in a forgotten, dust-laden corner can make you feel so utterly connected, a participant in something so much larger, so much older than yourself. You rise from the chair, a slight stiffness in your limbs, leaving the weighty book with its solemn inscription resting on the table. The air in this quiet corner still feels thick with the echo of that ancient vow, but a different kind of curiosity now pulls you deeper into the library's embrace. You step out of the alcove, and a cool draft, carrying the faintest hint of something metallic and distant, brushes against your cheek. Your eyes are drawn to a darker, narrower aisle, less frequented perhaps, where the light struggles to fully penetrate. Here the shelves climb even higher, disappearing into the dimness overhead, and the books themselves seem to exude a different aura. You approach them, your hand instinctively reaching out. The first touch is surprising. The leather of these older volumes is not uniformly warm or soft like some you've encountered. Instead, a distinct chill emanates from the spines, a cold, smooth surface that whispers of prolonged stillness, of stories long dormant. You trace the intricate lines of a gilded title, feeling the raised patterns of gold leaf beneath your fingertips. It's hard, unyielding, yet beautiful, a testament to a forgotten artisan's skill. Each book feels like a carefully preserved casket, holding its contents in a perpetual silent slumber. You move along the aisle, your fingers trailing across a succession of spines. Some are slick and almost icy, their leather polished to a hard sheen by countless years of being simply asterisk their asterisk. Others are rougher, their surfaces scored with lines, tiny imperfections telling tales of knocks and scrapes through centuries. A fine film of dust, almost invisible until disturbed, rises from one particularly tall volume as your hand brushes past. It tickles your nostrils faintly, the dry scent of ages clinging to your skin. You stop before a particularly imposing section where the books are uniformly large, their bindings are deep, almost regal burgundy. Their gilded titles flash like stern, knowing eyes in the gloom, philosophical treatises on the nature of man, collected works of the ancients. These aren't stories to simply enjoy, they feel like challenges, demands for rigorous thought. You try to pull one out, a heavy tome with a spine like an ancient tree trunk. It resists, wedged tightly, demanding effort. You pull again, feeling the strain in your arm, and it eventually slides free with a long, drawn-out sigh of friction, releasing another small cloud of dust. Holding it, you feel the sheer, impressive weight of centuries of reasoned thought, of profound human effort pressing down on your palms. These books aren't just objects, they are solidified thought, frozen wisdom, cool and silent, yet radiating an undeniable power. It's an odd feeling, isn't it, to stand surrounded by so much dormant brilliance, so much cold, objective truth, and know that each one represents a life's work, preserved here, waiting patiently for a hand, a mind, a moment to bring it back to life. You step away from the formidable rows of gilded spines, a peculiar instinct tugging you deeper into the library's less trodden paths. The air begins to feel subtly different here, a little heavier, dustier, as if you're moving into a part of the building that time, or at least regular maintenance, has largely forgotten. The grand, orderly aisles of the main hall give way to narrower passages, almost like canyons carved between towering stacks. You find yourself squeezing between shelves that stand closer together, almost embracing you in their forgotten embrace. The light here is dimmer still, struggling to penetrate the thick accumulation of dust that seems to coat every surface. Cobwebs fine as spun sugar occasionally brush against your hair or cheek, a soft, unsettling caress that makes you shiver faintly. This isn't the carefully curated sanctuary you entered, this is a labyrinth of the overlooked. The books here are a chaotic symphony of sizes and conditions, no neat uniformity of bindings or titles. Some volumes are fat and squat, others tall and impossibly thin, almost like brittle planks of wood. Their leather is cracked, peeling in places, revealing the faint cream-colored board beneath. You reach out, touching a cover that feels unusually coarse, almost gritty beneath your fingers. A cloud of fine, ancient dust rises, tickling your nose, carrying a musty, almost forgotten scent, less beeswax, more decaying parchment and dry air. As you peer into the dim shelves, you notice something truly fascinating. Many of these books lack clear titles or author names on their spines. Some have faint, handwritten labels faded to illegibility, suggesting a time when someone, perhaps frantically, attempted to impose order on this glorious chaos. Others are completely unmarked, silent, anonymous sentinels of unknown narratives. You pull one out, a small, unassuming volume, and as you open it, a shower of dried, papery leaves flutters out onto the floor, scattering around your feet like tiny, forgotten secrets. The pages within are fragile, yellowed to a rich, brittle brown covered in a delicate, almost spider-like script that makes your eyes strain to decipher. It feels like you've stumbled into a forgotten attic of knowledge, where every dusty corner holds a potential revelation, a lost truth, or a fantastical tale that simply didn't fit into the grand catalogue. The sheer volume of unrecognized histories, unread poetry, and uncelebrated discoveries surrounding you is breathtaking, almost overwhelming. It's a quiet testament to the boundless depths of human thought and the humbling reality that so much of it remains and will forever remain a wonderful, beautiful mystery. Doesn't it make you wonder, standing amidst all this forgotten brilliance, just how many incredible stories, how many profound insights are quietly waiting in the shadows, simply because they never made it onto a grand list? As the afternoon light outside begins to wane, a subtle shift permeates the vast interior of the library. You notice it first not with your eyes, but with a faint, almost musical asterisk hiss that starts quietly, then swells, an atmospheric whisper echoing through the towering shelves. It's the gaslights flickering into life, reluctantly pushing back the encroaching twilight. One by one, small, elegant jets of flame ignite within their frosted glass globes, perched high on ornate brass fixtures that snake their way up the columns and along the walkways of the upper galleries. Each one sighs into existence, a soft, steady exhalation of gas before settling into a warm, persistent glow. The initial darkness is no longer absolute, replaced by a deep, flickering amber that bathes the library in an entirely new light, transforming familiar corners into shadowy realms. You turn your head, observing how the dancing flames cast long, undulating shadows across the walls of books. A moment ago, the light was even, revealing details. Now it's a dramatic performance. The spines of the books seem to ripple and sway, their gilded titles winking in and out of visibility as the shadows stretch and shrink. A towering stack, once a solid block, now appears to lean precariously, its form distorted and elongated by the shifting illumination. It's as if the very architecture of the library is breathing, expanding and contracting with each subtle shift of the gaslight. You start to walk, drawn by the movement. Your own shadow, once sharp and distinct in the daylight, now becomes a fluid, enigmatic companion stretching far ahead of you, then shrinking, twisting into grotesque shapes as you pass beneath a new source of light. It feels less like a fixed place and more like an unfolding dream. The quiet rustle of your clothes, the soft pad of your feet on the thick rugs, these sounds are now accompanied by the constant low hum and gentle hiss of the gas, a persistent, living breath to the building. The air, too, seems different. Along with the beeswax and old paper, there's a faint, almost imperceptible warmth emanating from the burning gas, a dry, faint scent of combustion that adds another layer to the library's intricate perfume. You look up at a high gallery, seeing a figure moving silently along its edge. They form a fleeting silhouette against the luminous haze of the gaslight. Their shadow stretches across the ceiling like a giant, ethereal spider, only to vanish as they pass beyond the light's reach. It's truly remarkable, isn't it? How the mere change of light from the steady, honest sun to the unpredictable flicker of a gas flame can completely transform a space, turning the familiar into something altogether more mysterious, more alive with unseen possibilities and secrets lurking just beyond the edge of perception. You find yourself drawn to one of the large, sturdy oak tables dotted throughout the main reading hall, a quiet island amidst the towering shelves. The nearest gaslight, positioned a little way above, hisses a steady, low note, casting a fluctuating pool of amber light. It's beautiful, certainly, but also elusive. You pull out the weighty, leather-bound book you'd selected, placing it carefully on the smooth, cool wood. As you settle, the soft glow illuminates the page before you, but not quite steadily. The flame within the frosted globe is alive, a tiny, restless heart that makes the delicate script on the ancient paper ripple and shift. You lean closer, trying to coax the letters into perfect focus. The faded ink, so elegant in daylight, now seems to play games with your eyes, blurring at the edges, constantly threatening to disappear into the gathering shadows. Your head, even slightly bowed, casts a moving silhouette across the page, an unwanted companion in your quest for understanding. You shift the book, angle it this way and that, desperately searching for that precise sweet spot where the words might sit still, where the sentences might flow without resistance. The effort begins to tell. Your eyes strain, feeling dry and tight, and a faint, dull ache starts to throb gently behind your brow. The air, with its mingled scents of old paper and the dry warmth of the burning gas, feels heavier now, almost oppressive in its stillness. You press on, determined. Each line of text becomes a small personal victory wrested from the flickering light. You find yourself rereading phrases not because you didn't understand them, but because the light tricked your sight, making words jump or vanish. The silence of the library, once comforting, now feels vast, punctuated only by the persistent hiss of the gas and the almost imperceptible rustle of the thick pages as you turn them. You notice the golden dust motes, once dancing freely, now seem to swim lazily in the gaslight's imperfect glow like tiny lost stars. It's a peculiar struggle, this silent battle against the dying of the light, isn't it? To pursue knowledge, to immerse yourself in a story, when the very medium demands such physical effort. It makes you realize the sheer perseverance required of those who sought wisdom in simpler times, how every word read, every thought absorbed, was a triumph against the simple, stubborn reality of the fading day. As the gaslight continues its persistent hiss, you move away from the reading table, the weight of the book still a faint imprint on your palms. Your gaze sweeps across another part of the hall, where individual writing desks are arranged in neat rows. Unlike the grand reading tables, these are smaller, more intimate, each one a secluded stage for quiet creation. A pull of curiosity, a desire to not just read but to create within these hallowed walls, draws you forward. You approach an empty desk, its dark, polished surface gleaming faintly in the flickering gaslight. On it rests a small ceramic inkwell, dark and glossy, beside a stack of thick, cream-colored vellum sheets. And there, almost invitingly, lies a quill pen, its feather end a soft, creamy white, the tip sharpened to a precise point. It's an almost archaic sight, a direct link to the hands that first pennied so many of the stories that fill this very library. You reach out, your fingers closing around the quill. It feels surprisingly light, delicate yet firm, its feathery end tickling your palm. A faint, earthy scent of dried bird feather rises as you lift it. You dip the fine tip into the inkwell. The dark liquid clings to the nib, a single, perfect droplet shimmering under the gaslight. There's a quiet anticipation in the air, a sense of creative power held poised between your fingers. You smooth one of the vellum sheets onto the desk, its surface cool and remarkably taut, almost like stretched skin. Then, with a slow, deliberate motion, you touch the quill to the vellum, and there it is, the sound. A soft, crisp, almost rhythmic scratch asterisk. It's a dry, insistent rasp, a delicate friction that vibrates faintly through your fingers up your arm. Each stroke of the quill feels intentional, demanding precision and a steady hand. The ink flows dark and permanent, a stark contrast against the smooth, pale vellum. You feel the slight resistance of the surface, not a drag, but a definite texture that guides the nib, holding the ink in place with an almost magnetic pull. You form a letter, then another, the quiet scratch a counterpoint to the library's vast silence, a small, focused sound of creation. It's not effortless. You feel the slight tension in your wrist, the concentration required to make each mark perfect. The air around you seems to hum with the ghosts of countless quills that have scratched against similar surfaces in this very place, filling pages with knowledge, poetry, and secret thoughts. It's a profound feeling, isn't it? To make your own small mark, to hear that ancient, elemental sound of creation within a space so rich with the echoes of others' words. It makes you realize how every story, every idea, no matter how grand, starts with a single deliberate stroke, a quiet scratch on a waiting page. You press the quill against the vellum, the word you've just written already feeling inadequate. The quiet scratch that was once so satisfying now grates, a small, insistent reminder of your own slowing pace. The initial flush of inspiration, that exciting spark that brought you to this desk, seems to have retreated, leaving behind a dull ache in your temples. The gaslight above still hisses its steady song, but its flickering warmth now feels less comforting, more like an unreliable companion in a growing solitude. You find yourself staring not at the pristine sheet of vellum, but at the dark, swirling depths of the inkwell. Your mind, once a bustling marketplace of ideas, is now a quiet, empty street. You try to force a thought to coax a phrase, but the words refuse to coalesce, stubbornly remaining just beyond your grasp. A faint stiffness begins to creep into your neck, a quiet protest from muscles held rigid for too long in concentration. You roll your shoulders, attempting to dislodge the tension, but it clings, a physical manifestation of your mental block. The silence of the library, previously a sanctuary, starts to feel immense, pressing in on you. It's a silence so profound that you can almost hear the soft flutter of dust motes dancing in the gaslight's beam, the subtle creak of the ancient timbers overhead, the very slow, quiet passage of time itself. Every minute seems to stretch, elongating into an eternity. You glance around, a fleeting hope of seeing another solitary figure, another kindred spirit wrestling with their own thoughts, but the vast hall is empty, save for you and the towering, silent sentinels of stories. You dip the quill again, the ink cool and heavy on the nib, a stark contrast to the frustrating heat building in your mind. You begin to write not because a brilliant idea has struck, but out of sheer, stubborn will. Each letter is a small act of defiance against the mental fog, a slow, arduous journey across the page. The scratch of the quill feels heavier now, less delicate, more like a chisel on stone. You push through paragraphs that feel clunky, sentences that refuse to sing, knowing that sometimes the only way forward is simply to keep moving, however imperfectly. Time blurs. The air grows cooler, hinting at the deepening night outside. Your eyes begin to water from the strain, the words on the page occasionally blurring into indecipherable patterns, forcing you to blink furiously to refocus. You rub your tired temples, the skin feeling unusually tight. It's a battle, a silent internal struggle against fatigue, against doubt, against the immense weight of the blank page and the even greater weight of unspoken thought. You consider stopping, pushing the quill away, giving in to the pervasive sense of inadequacy that whispers at the edges of your awareness. But then, just as the frustration threatens to overwhelm, something shifts, a tiny, almost imperceptible click in your mind, a thread, a connection, a sudden burst of clarity. It starts subtly, a word, then a phrase, perfectly formed, effortlessly flowing onto the page. The previous agony melts away, instantly forgotten. The stiffness in your neck vanishes, the ache behind your eyes recedes. The quill moves with a newfound grace, no longer scratching but gliding, almost dancing across the vellum. The ink seems to leap from the nib, forming elegant letters, swift and sure. Ideas cascade, one leading seamlessly into the next, building momentum, creating a vibrant tapestry of thought. It's exhilarating, a pure, unadulterated joy that floods through you, eclipsing all previous discomfort. You are no longer merely writing, you are channeling, discovering, bringing something vital and new into existence. The gaslight's flicker now seems to aid you, its restless energy mirroring the frantic, beautiful dance of ideas within your mind. The silence is no longer oppressive, but a supportive, expectant canvas for your creation. You're still deep in the current of your thoughts, the quill a steady extension of your hand, the vellum absorbing your ideas. The gaslight continues its comforting hiss, a constant, low murmur that has become a natural, almost unnoticed part of the library's deep quiet. Your mind is a focused beam cutting through the dense silence, entirely absorbed in the unfolding narrative on the page. Then it happens. A sudden, rasping asterisk hack asterisk, sharp and violent, rips through the air. It's a dry, almost desperate sound that seems to originate from somewhere far across the vast hall, yet it strikes you with the force of a physical blow. The pen falters in your hand, spluttering a tiny, dark blotch onto the pristine vellum. Your shoulders involuntarily tense, your breath catching in your throat, a startled jolt running through your entire frame. The cough itself might have been brief, but its echo is not. It bounces off the towering shelves, ricocheting from the high, vaulted ceiling, a ghostly reverberation that refuses to dissipate quickly. It swirls and fades, then resurfaces, a series of soft, unsettling whispers that die away slowly, leaving an even more profound, almost brittle silence in its wake. The sudden vacuum feels heavier, more absolute than the quiet that preceded it. You lift your head slowly, your neck stiff, eyes blinking rapidly to adjust, to reorient yourself after being so thoroughly yanked from your inner world. Your gaze sweeps across the distant rows of desks. They're almost lost amongst the shadows. A hunched figure sits at a far-off table. Their head is bowed, a thin, bony hand pressed to their mouth, as if trying to recapture the noise to stuff the disruption back into themselves. They are an older gentleman, perhaps, his sparse hair catching a weak glint from a far-off gaslight. As if feeling your sudden piercing gaze, the figure slowly lifts his head. His eyes, watery and rimmed with fatigue, meet yours across the vast expanse of the hall. There's a fleeting moment of shared acknowledgement, a silent apology in his tired expression, a slight, almost imperceptible dip of his chin. Then just as quickly his gaze drops back to his own book, retreating into his personal, quiet world, the momentary connection already dissolved. The air still feels charged with the lingering memory of the sound, a faint vibration on your eardrums. The rhythm of your breathing, so even moments before, feels slightly erratic. The precise quiet you'd cultivated, the fragile piece of solitary creation, has been irrevocably altered. It's a reminder, stark and sudden, of the human presence that underpins even the most profound solitude. It's astonishing, isn't it, how a single small sound, an entirely involuntary human noise, can so utterly shatter the illusion of perfect silence, reminding you that even in a sanctuary of wisdom, you're always just a breath away from the unpredictable, messy reality of another living soul. The lingering echo of that jarring cough still seems to vibrate faintly in the air around you, a ghost of a sound that has left a curious imprint. You find your own throat feels unexpectedly dry, almost scratchy, and you swallow, trying to dislodge an imagined irritation. It's a subtle shift, but it draws your attention sharply away from the boundless expanse of intellectual thought and back, abruptly, to the confines of your own physical self. You sit for a moment, quill poised above the vellum, but your focus is no longer on the elegant script or the burgeoning ideas. Instead, you become acutely aware of the persistent stiffness in your lower back, a dull, aching throb that has been quietly building, ignored for hours. Your shoulders feel hunched tight as knots, and when you try to roll them, a faint, grinding sensation like dry gears resonates deep within. Your eyes, which just moments ago eagerly devoured the intricate words, now feel gritty and strained. You blink rapidly, trying to clear the persistent blur that dances at the edges of your vision, a direct consequence of the gaslight's flickering dance. You rub your temples, feeling the slight puffiness around your eyelids, the delicate skin warm beneath your fingertips. A faint headache, a dull pressure behind your eyes seems to have set up residence, a quiet protest against your prolonged concentration. You slowly lean back in the chair, a soft groan escaping your lips, barely audible even in the vast silence. The solid oak, once a sturdy support, now feels unyielding, cold against your tired frame. You stretch your arms above your head, feeling the satisfying, if brief, pop and crackle of stiff joints. It's a stark contrast, isn't it? This fragile, demanding vessel of flesh and bone, housed within such an immense, unchanging temple of knowledge. The books around you, centuries old, stand firm, their stories preserved, their wisdom eternal. Yet your own body after mere hours already feels like a temporary decaying structure. You reach for the forgotten book, the heavy tome with the beautiful script you were reading earlier, and lay it open on the table, not to study, but just to rest your aching head for a moment, feeling the cool, smooth leather against your cheek. The scent of old paper and beeswax, once invigorating, now seems to carry a faint, melancholy note, a whisper of countless scholars who have bent over these very pages, their bodies eventually succumbing while the words they pursued lived on. It makes you reflect, doesn't it, on the humbling, almost ironic truth that for all our soaring intellect, for all the grand ideas we can conceive and record, we are ultimately just temporary custodians of knowledge, bound by the fragile, insistent needs of our own weary, aching bodies. The mind may reach for the stars, but the body remains firmly rooted to the earth, a constant, gentle reminder of our limits. You're still nursing that dull ache in your back, the book closed and resting on the cool wood of the table. Your gaze drifts across the vast hall, a silent, almost contemplative sweep. The gaslights flicker, still casting their restless, dancing shadows, but the deep quiet has settled back in, thick and resonant, broken only by the occasional creak of aged timber. You feel a gentle breeze, a faint, cool current of air rustling the hair at your nape, a sensation that makes you shiver subtly. Then you feel it, a prickle on the back of your neck, a sudden, undeniable sense of being observed. It's not a malevolent feeling, but rather one of scrutiny, of quiet assessment. You slowly turn your head, your eyes seeking out the source of this unseen gaze. There, behind the grand mahogany counter that dominates the entrance of the main hall, stands a figure as much a part of the library's architecture as the shelves themselves. He's tall, lean, dressed in a dark, impeccably tailored suit, his white shirt stiffly starched. But it's his face that captures your attention. A pair of small, wire-rimmed spectacles perches low on his nose, magnifying his pale eyes just slightly, giving them an unnervingly sharp, almost bird-like intensity. He isn't moving, not a twitch. His hands are clasped formally behind his back, his posture rigid and upright. His gaze, however, is fixed directly on you, piercing the distance of the hall. It's a quiet gaze, entirely devoid of malice, yet it carries an undeniable weight of unspoken disapproval. You can almost feel the questions hanging in the air. Are you supposed to be here? Are you making too much noise? Are you respecting the sanctity of this place? You instinctively straighten your own posture, a faint flush rising in your cheeks. You feel a sudden, acute awareness of your rumpled coat, the slightly disheveled pile of papers on the table before you, even the faint stain of ink on your thumb. Under his steady, unwavering stare, every small imperfection, every deviation from perfect decorum feels magnified, exposed. It's as if he possesses an invisible rulebook, and your very presence is subtly, perhaps inadvertently, breaking one of its unspoken tenets. He doesn't speak, doesn't gesture. He simply watches, his expression unreadable, framed by the austere lines of his face and the glint of his spectacles. The gaslight above his head seems to focus its beam directly on him, highlighting the stern set of his jaw, the faint tension around his mouth. It feels like an interrogation conducted entirely in silence, a test of your resolve or perhaps your understanding of the library's venerable traditions. You consider looking away, but his gaze holds yours, firm and unyielding, a silent challenge in the vast, echoing hall. It's truly fascinating, isn't it? How the mere presence of another person, even without a single word, can assert such authority, can make you feel so acutely aware of yourself, of your place, and of the unwritten rules that govern a seemingly open and welcoming space. A silent reminder that even in a sanctuary of free thought, there are always guardians watching. That unsettling sensation of being watched doesn't dissipate. It lingers cool and sharp, a static charge in the air between you and the formidable figure behind the counter. His gaze, steady and unwavering through those wire-rimmed spectacles, feels like a physical weight pressing against your chest, making your breath feel just a little shallower. The gaslight's hiss, once a comfort, now seems to amplify the profound silence of the hall, turning it into an arena for this unspoken confrontation. You try to busy yourself subtly, as if you hadn't noticed him at all. Your fingers fidget with the quill, then brush against the smooth vellum, a soft, almost nervous rustle that feels impossibly loud in the hushed space. You carefully realign the stack of papers, then smooth the cover of the old book, your movements precise, almost overly deliberate. You want to appear nonchalant, utterly absorbed, but every fiber of your being is hyper-aware of his continuing scrutiny. His hands, still clasped behind his back, betray no movement. His posture remains perfectly erect, an unwavering column of authority in the flickering light. Yet you sense a subtle shift, an almost imperceptible tightening around his jaw, a slight pursing of his thin lips. It's not anger, not overtly so, but a deep, ingrained adherence to order, to decorum, to a meticulously maintained standard that your mere presence might, in some intangible way, be unsettling. He is the quiet anchor, the still point in this spinning world of knowledge. His eyes, magnified by the lenses, seem to sweep over the entire reading room, taking in every detail, the perfectly aligned chairs, the unblemished surface of the polished wood, the precise angle of a forgotten newspaper on a distant table. He appears to be conducting a silent audit, a continuous assessment of the library's impeccable state. You can almost feel him measuring the space, weighing the atmosphere, ensuring that every element conforms to an unspoken, rigorous protocol. He is not merely a caretaker of books. He is the custodian of the very spirit of the place, an embodiment of its ancient rules. You catch your reflection for a moment in the gleaming surface of your inkwell. Your slightly tired eyes, the faint smudge of ink on your cheek. You imagine how you must appear from his perspective, a small, perhaps slightly untidy disruption in his perfectly ordered domain. A sense of obligation begins to prickle at you, a quiet urge to conform, to minimize your own presence, to make yourself as unobtrusive as possible. You find yourself holding your breath, waiting for some subtle cue, some almost invisible signal that might break this quiet spell. Then, with a deliberate slowness that speaks of long practice, He reaches a hand out, not towards you, but towards a small brass-bound ledger that rests open on the counter before him. His fingers, long and slender, tap a rhythm so soft you can barely hear it, yet it resonates with an undeniable finality, a statement of unyielding control. His gaze briefly flickers down to the page, then back up, encompassing you once more before finally slowly moving away to sweep across the distant shelves. It's truly a remarkable thing, isn't it? The sheer, quiet power of a figure who speaks no words, makes no grand gestures, yet whose very presence, whose steady, discerning gaze, can so profoundly communicate authority and expectation. He stands as a living testament to the unseen forces that govern these hallowed halls, a gatekeeper not just of literature, but of an entire unspoken philosophy, a solemn reminder that within any sanctuary of wisdom, there are always those who guard its very soul, maintaining the delicate balance between access and reverence, knowledge and silent, profound respect. You shift, a subtle, almost imperceptible adjustment in your seat, but the motion sends a familiar, unwelcome sensation through your lower back. You've settled back into one of the sturdy hardwood chairs, its polished surface cool and unyielding beneath you. The gaslight continues to hum, casting its soft, restless glow, but your attention is now firmly rooted in your own body, specifically in the insistent, unwelcome pressure around your midsection. It's the corset, of course. That invisible, ever-present architectural marvel of Victorian fashion. You feel its stiff, unyielding boning pressing firmly against your ribs, a constant, firm embrace that restricts every deep breath. The tightly laced fabric, smooth and cool to the touch from the outside, is now a relentless internal vice, cinching your waist, forcing your posture into an almost unnatural rigidity. You try to take a fuller breath to expand your lungs, but the whalebone ribs dig in, a sharp, distinct asterisk pinch that makes you catch your breath. It's a dull, continuous ache that sits just beneath your diaphragm, a constant, low-level reminder of its presence. Every slight movement you make sends a ripple of discomfort through you. Leaning forward to examine a page, you feel the upper edge of the corset dig into your chest, making your shoulders tighten even further. Leaning back offers no true relief. The rigid stays push against the solid oak of the chair back, creating a sensation of being caught between two immovable forces. There's a faint, almost metallic smell that you've come to associate with the tight fabric and the perspiration it inevitably causes, a dry, faint aroma that seems to cling to your skin. You try to ignore it, to push past the physical demands and dive back into the intricate tapestry of thoughts on the page before you. Your eyes scan the elegant script, your mind attempting to construct meaning, to grasp complex ideas, but a part of your awareness remains stubbornly tethered to the relentless squeeze around your torso. It's a peculiar battle, the boundless freedom of the mind, soaring through centuries of knowledge, constantly brought back to earth by the very physical constraints of the body that carries it. You adjust again, almost imperceptibly, attempting to find a position of minimal discomfort, but it's a futile exercise. The corset is an unyielding master demanding its due. A small, almost involuntary sigh escapes your lips, quiet enough not to disturb the profound silence of the hall. The gaslight's persistent hiss seems to mock your internal struggle, an effortless, continuous exhalation of light and heat, entirely unburdened by the relentless demands of tight lacing and rigid boning. It's a strange irony, isn't it, to sit in a sanctuary of boundless wisdom where thoughts are free to roam unfettered, and yet to be so intimately, physically confined by the very attire of the era. It truly makes you ponder the often overlooked cost of convention, how deeply the unspoken expectations of society can quite literally shape and constrict not just your outward appearance, but your very breath, your comfort, and your silent moments of intellectual pursuit. The corset's tight lacing continues its relentless embrace, a constant, dull pressure against your ribs, reminding you of its presence with every shallow breath. But now, that discomfort seems to take on a different weight. It's no longer merely a physical burden, it's a quiet reminder of the world outside these walls, a world that expects a certain comportment, a certain decorum, particularly from a woman. And here you are, a woman seated in this grand hall of scholarship, perhaps a place not entirely meant for your quiet, determined pursuit. You glance around, a fleeting, almost instinctive scan of the vast room. The few other patrons, predominantly men, are hunched over their own texts, absorbed in their studies, their presence an established, unchallenged right. You feel an almost imperceptible shift in the air when your eyes meet another's, a brief flicker of surprise or perhaps subtle curiosity that quickly dissipates. There's no open hostility, but a pervasive sense of being an anomaly, an uninvited guest in a hallowed, male-dominated space. Your fingers, slender and quick, turn the brittle pages of the large, open volume, an old book on natural philosophy. You find yourself reading with an unusual intensity, a focused urgency that pushes past the physical discomfort of the corset, past the subtle awareness of curious glances. This time, this precious moment in this sanctuary feels borrowed, almost stolen. You lean closer to the page, trying to draw the gaslight's flickering glow more directly onto the faded text, as if to shield your intense concentration from prying eyes. Each word absorbed, each concept grasped feels like a small, private victory. The quiet rustle of the vellum, the faint scent of old ink, these sensory details are heightened by the underlying tension, the knowledge that your presence here is a quiet act of defiance. You don't linger on the decorative illustrations, nor do you allow your mind to simply wander. This is not leisure, this is purpose. You underline a particularly profound passage with an imaginary finger, committing it to memory with fierce resolve. The knowledge itself, so vast and open on these pages, seems to mock the unspoken constraints that bind you. It whispers of a world where intellect knows no gender, where curiosity is an unburdened right. Yet you are acutely aware of the ticking clock, of the impending need to return to a different life, to different expectations. It's a powerful thing, isn't it, to pursue truth, to chase wisdom, not out of simple desire, but with a quiet, steely resolve born of constraint. To know that every stolen moment, every silently absorbed word, is not just about gaining knowledge, but about claiming a small, invaluable piece of freedom in a world that seldom offers it freely. You've carefully closed the large volume, the weight of its content, and the corset's persistent squeeze, urging a moment of pause. Your gaze drifts, sweeping past the imposing leather-bound tomes and towards a smaller, more accessible section near a communal table. Here, the books are noticeably different. They lack the pristine, untouched aura of the deeper archives. These are the workhorses, the public volumes. You approach a shelf drawn to a particular book that seems to lean slightly, its spine softened, almost slumped from extensive handling. It's a well-worn copy of some popular periodical or perhaps a collection of everyday essays. You reach for it, your fingers anticipating the cool, dry feel of aged leather or crisp paper. But what you encounter is distinctly different. As your hand closes around its cover, you feel a subtle tackiness, a faint, almost imperceptible film clinging to the surface. It's not sticky, not wet, but a dry, smooth residue that instantly tells a story of countless other hands. The leather, once probably dark and firm, is now buffed to an almost greasy sheen in places, particularly along the edges and corners where fingers have habitually gripped. You pull the book free, the spine groaning softly, a sound of tired resignation. As you hold it, tilting it slightly in the gaslight's amber glow, you catch sight of your fingertips. There a faint, shadowy smudge clings to your skin, a fine, dark grey film. You rub your thumb and forefinger together and the grime forms a tiny, almost invisible roll, a testament to the accumulated oils, dust and minute detritus of human touch. A subtle, earthy scent rises from the pages as you open it. It's not the refined aroma of beeswax or the sharp tang of new ink. This is a smell of widespread public use. Faint perspiration, a ghost of stale tobacco, perhaps even a distant, lingering echo of coal smoke. The pages themselves are soft, almost pliable, their edges smudged and softened by generations of turning fingers. Dog-ears abound, small bent triangles where readers have marked their place. You turn a page, feeling the familiar paper beneath your touch, yet knowing that this particular sheet has absorbed the history of so many unseen readers. Each faint fingerprint, each tiny stain, tells a story of a silent communion between the author's words and an untold number of curious minds, all leaving their own fleeting physical mark. It's a peculiar sensation, isn't it? To hold a book that feels so intimately connected to the countless, anonymous others who have sought knowledge or solace from its pages. To feel the very physical residue of shared humanity, a tangible link to a collective past, all quietly imprinted on the skin of your fingertips. It reminds you that some stories aren't just read, they are physically experienced, passed from hand to hand, gathering the whispers of every soul they touch. The faint grime from that well-used volume still clings to your fingertips, a subtle, earthy residue, a testament to countless hands. But as you turn its pages, you quickly realize this isn't about ancient wisdom or solemn oaths. This is something entirely different. The paper itself is thinner, coarser, almost rough beneath your touch, and the ink often smudges if you run your thumb across it too eagerly. This is the pulse of the street, bound and brought inside. You scan the bold, blocky typeface, a stark contrast to the elegant script of other tomes. The language itself is punchier, more direct, designed to seize your attention. Your eyes dart across paragraphs, devouring words at a far faster pace than you'd found possible with the dense philosophical texts. The titles scream from the pages, The Dreadful Secret of Baker Street, New Marvels of the Steam Engine, a startling discovery in electricity. These aren't just stories, they are sensations, news, immediate thrills. You feel a quickening in your pulse, an undeniable pull into the sensational narrative of a penny dreadful. The characters leap from the page, their adventures unfolding with a gripping urgency, a stark contrast to the slow, deliberate unfolding of historical accounts. Or perhaps you're drawn to a detailed diagram of a new industrial machine, the intricate workings of gears and pistons promising a world of future innovation, a tangible glimpse into progress. The pages smell not just of age, but of cheap ink and rapid printing, a scent that whispers of a burgeoning, hungry public eager for quick consumption. Your fingers trace a vivid illustration, a shadowy figure lurking in a fog-bound alley, or a complex schematic of a new invention. It's all so immediate, so tangible, so present. This is the raw energy of a changing world, captured on hastily printed sheets, consumed with a voracious appetite. You find yourself absorbed in the sheer immediacy of it all, a direct connection to the anxieties and excitements of the everyday Victorian. This isn't about timeless truths, it's about the very moment, the here and now rushing past. It's truly striking, isn't it, how different forms of literature can evoke such distinct sensations, from the weighty, slow-burning wisdom of centuries past to the thrilling, ephemeral rush of popular tales and technological marvels. Each holds its own unique power, catering to a different kind of hunger within the human spirit, capturing the relentless march of both imagination and progress. You leave the rough-spun thrill of the penny dreadful behind, a lingering whisper of adventure still clinging to your senses. Your gaze, however, is now drawn to a more somber, more serious section of the library, an aisle where the books are uniformly large. Their spines are stark, dark green or grey. These are the tomes of science, of hard fact, and amongst them your eye snags on a particularly thick volume, almost square in its proportions. It's labelled simply Anatomical Studies. A quiet curiosity, perhaps a morbid one, pulls you towards it. You pull it from the shelf, its weight surprising, a heavy, dense block of knowledge. The cover, unadorned leather, feels cool and smooth beneath your fingers, almost clinical. As you settle it carefully onto a nearby table, it opens with a soft, dry crackle, revealing pages far thicker than those of the popular prints. You turn the first few pages, filled with dense, meticulous text, before a full-page illustration finally appears. And it takes your breath, quite literally, with a sharp intake. It's a human figure, or rather a partial human figure, rendered with an almost terrifying precision. Every tendon, every nerve, every minute muscle fiber is depicted with an unsettling clarity. The paper itself is peculiar. It's not just thick. It possesses a faint, almost waxy sheen, catching the gaslight in a way that makes the anatomical forms appear unnervingly alive, almost moist. The muted reds and blues of the circulatory system seem to throb faintly against the sallow skeletal background, an illusion created by the dancing light and that subtle, reflective surface. You lean closer, your nose catching a faint, dry, almost metallic scent from the old ink and paper, a ghost of the dissecting room perhaps. Your gaze travels over the impossibly intricate network of veins, the delicate bone structure, the vulnerable organs. It's beautiful in its detail, a testament to immense skill, yet profoundly unsettling in its frank, unflinching depiction of the body laid bare. This isn't a story, it's a stark revelation. A shiver not of cold, but of a deeper primal awareness runs down your spine. You feel a sudden acute consciousness of your own inner workings, the fragile, complex machinery beneath your skin, so easily damaged, so meticulously illustrated here. It's a strange moment, isn't it, to stand in a temple of stories and wisdom, only to be confronted so starkly with the silent, complex truth of your own fleeting physical existence. To see with such clarity the intricate marvels and the inherent vulnerability of the human form laid out on a page with an unsettling, undeniable sheen. You're still staring at the anatomical illustration, the unsettling sheen on the page reflecting the gaslight back at you, making the meticulously rendered sinews and vessels seem to pulse with a spectral life. The faint, dry, almost metallic scent from the old paper seems to intensify, whispering of sterile dissecting rooms and hushed, grim discoveries. It's not just a drawing. It's a revelation, stark and unblinking, laying bare the exquisite, yet terrifyingly fragile inner workings of what makes you asterisk you asterisk. Your gaze drifts from the intricate network of the circulatory system to the delicate, almost spindly scaffolding of bone beneath, then to the pale, vulnerable organs nestled within. Every element is depicted with an unsparing scientific clarity that leaves no room for romantic illusion. This is the human form, stripped of its outward dignity, reduced to its bare mortal mechanics. A profound chill, unrelated to the library's ambient temperature, slowly spreads through your limbs, tightening around your chest, making your breath feel strangely shallow. You find yourself pressing a hand to your own ribs, feeling the solid bone, the faint, steady thump of your heart beneath, a primal reassurance against the stark truth laid out before you. This is the late Victorian era, an age bursting with fervent discovery, with grand ambitions for understanding and conquering the natural world. The shelves around you groan with books detailing wondrous new inventions, groundbreaking theories in physics and chemistry, bold explorations into distant lands. Minds are stretching, pushing the boundaries of what is known, convinced that science will eventually unravel every mystery, cure every ill, extend every life. Yet here, captured in meticulous ink and wash, is the undeniable counterpoint to that soaring optimism. The stark reality of the physical body, inherently vulnerable, relentlessly susceptible to decay, to disease, to the sudden, brutal hand of fate. You touch the cool, waxy surface of the page, your fingertip tracing a precise line on an anatomical diagram of a human heart. It's a flawless rendering, yet it speaks of imperfection, of potential failure, of the inherent weakness within even the most vital of our components. The gaslight continues its persistent hiss, a constant living sound in the hushed, cavernous hall, but it suddenly feels like a fragile temporary flame against the vast, eternal darkness that these illustrations so quietly, so clinically hint at. The towering shelves, usually a comforting testament to enduring wisdom, now seem to press in, their silent weight emphasizing the fleeting nature of individual existence against the backdrop of collective, accumulated knowledge. You pull the book closer, almost instinctively as if to absorb its secrets, to arm yourself with its unvarnished truths, knowing that understanding, however unsettling, is often the first step towards confronting what truly awaits. It's a peculiar, almost disquieting contrast, isn't it? To stand in an age so confident in its stride towards knowledge and progress, only to find yourself confronted so viscerally with the unshakable, universal truth of human mortality laid bare on a simple page. It reminds you that for all our grand ambitions and scientific marvels, some mysteries of existence remain stubbornly, profoundly beyond our grasp, forcing us to humbly acknowledge the intricate, fragile beauty and the inevitable, quiet ending of this extraordinary human journey. You pull yourself away from the confronting medical illustrations, a faint unease still prickling beneath your skin. The air, though, begins to feel different here, heavier, cooler, carrying a strange, almost acrid note that cuts through the familiar scent of old paper and beeswax. A primal instinct, a sense of quiet alarm, begins to hum in your veins, and you suddenly taste it, a distinct metallic tang on your tongue, like old copper or a drop of blood. It's the sharp, unmistakable taste of fear. You find yourself drawn towards a section of the library you haven't yet explored, tucked away in a deep, shadowed corner where the gaslight struggles to reach, its amber glow dim and hesitant. The shelves here are taller, more densely packed, forming an almost impenetrable wall of dark wood and even darker volumes. There's a subtle chill in the air, a dampness that suggests this part of the building sees less light, less warmth, less human presence. As you step deeper into this forgotten alcove, your footsteps, usually muffled by thick rugs, now echo with an unsettling clarity on what feels like bare, cold stone flooring. The sound sends a fresh shiver down your spine, and the metallic taste in your mouth intensifies. You scan the spines of the books, and they are unlike any you've seen so far. There are no gilded titles, no familiar authors. Instead, many are bound in plain, rough leather, almost black, their titles etched in stark, unadorned script, some barely legible in the gloom. Words like occultations, forbidden lore, shadows beyond prickle at your awareness. You reach out, your fingers hesitating for a moment before touching a thick, heavy volume. The leather is surprisingly cold, almost clammy beneath your touch, and it gives slightly under the pressure, as if the binding itself is old and fragile. A thin film of dust, heavier here than elsewhere, coats your fingertips, bringing with it a musty odor that's deeper, more potent than mere old paper, a smell that whispers of stagnant air, of long-buried secrets. The gaslight struggling to penetrate this darkness casts grotesque, flickering shadows that dance and writhe on the walls of books, making them seem to lean in to watch you. You feel a distinct urge to turn back, to escape the palpable sense of unease, but a powerful, almost forbidden curiosity holds you captive. This place holds knowledge that was perhaps never meant to be easily found, never meant to be readily seen. And you, in this moment, are standing at its silent, foreboding threshold. It's an odd thing, isn't it? How the mere atmosphere of a place, the hushed suggestion of hidden truths, can trigger such a primal physical response, making you taste the very essence of fear and forbidden wonder. It truly makes you ponder what profound, and perhaps dangerous, insights lie buried beneath such layers of careful, deliberate obscurity. The lingering metallic tang of unease still prickles your tongue as you find yourself deeper in the shadowed, forbidden section. Your fingers, almost instinctively, reach for a volume unlike any other. It's bound in a plain, almost crude dark leather, completely unadorned, no gilt, no elaborate tooling. Its unassuming nature, its very lack of embellishment, is what makes it so profoundly unsettling. It feels as if it's trying to disappear, to hide in plain sight amongst its more ostentatious neighbors. You pull it free, feeling its considerable weight, a dense block of suppressed thought. The leather is surprisingly cool, almost clammy beneath your fingertips, and as you draw it close, a faint, dry, almost acrid scent rises, cutting through the usual library perfume. It's the smell of old paper mixed with something sharper, something that whispers of confinement, of airlessness. You ease the heavy cover open, the binding protesting with a low, dry groan. The pages inside are thick, almost like parchment, but strangely uneven, as if hastily prepared. The text itself is a tight, dense block of small print, devoid of any illustrations. But it's not just the words that strike you, it's the subtle marks on the pages. Here, a line of dense, dark ink has been drawn precisely through a paragraph, not obliterating it entirely, but rendering it almost unreadable, a ghost of a thought. There a small, elegant X in faded red ink marks a particular sentence, a silent, official condemnation. You run a finger over one of these censored lines, feeling the slight raised texture of the ink. It's a chilling sensation, a direct contact with an act of suppression, a deliberate attempt to silence an idea, to guide thought, to erase a perspective deemed too dangerous, too radical, too heretical for public consumption. The words beneath the censor's mark seem to vibrate with an almost rebellious energy, a fierce determination to be heard despite the attempt to muffle them. The gaslight, dim and flickering in this sequestered corner, seems to lend a conspiratorial air to the very act of reading. Each word you manage to decipher, each concept you uncover from beneath the careful strike-throughs, feels like a small forbidden victory. You feel a prickle of exhilaration, a sense of complicity in unveiling these quiet acts of intellectual defiance, a silent battle waged on paper centuries ago. The knowledge here isn't just information, it's a challenge, a question mark etched into the fabric of accepted truth. It's a profound thing, isn't it, to hold within your hands not just a book, but a tangible record of human control over ideas, of the enduring courage required to express beliefs that defy the prevailing winds. It reminds you that even in a sanctuary of stories, true wisdom often lurks in the shadows, quietly waiting for those brave enough to seek out, and perhaps even rekindle its carefully suppressed flame. You close the heavy, censored volume, the metallic tang of its secrets still faintly lingering on your tongue. The gaslight in this forgotten corner flickers, doing little to truly dispel the gloom. You stand, stretching your stiff back, and a sudden sharp current of air brushes against your cheek. It's distinctly colder than the air elsewhere in the library, carrying a faint, damp scent of brick and distant city rain. A shiver, quick and involuntary, runs down your spine, making the fine hairs on your arms stand on end. You turn towards the source, a tall, arched window set high in the wall, almost swallowed by the surrounding shelves. It's grand, certainly with leaded panes, but as you approach, you realize it's ancient, its seals clearly failing. A thin, persistent draft leaks through a barely visible crack in the wooden frame, a tiny, icy breath from the outside world. You reach out a tentative hand, feeling the glass, it's shockingly cold, radiating a deep, bone-chilling chill that instantly permeates your fingertips. It's not just cool. It's the intense, penetrating cold of a deep winter evening, even if it's only autumn. You press your palm flat against the glass, feeling the subtle vibrations of the pane, a faint, rhythmic rattle that speaks of old age and the constant, gentle assault of the elements. Beyond the smudged, ancient glass, the world outside is a blurred tapestry of gaslight glows and deeper, impenetrable shadows. You can't see clearly, but you can feel its presence, its vastness, its unyielding indifference. The library's carefully cultivated warmth, the rich, comforting scent of old paper, feels suddenly fragile, vulnerable to this relentless intrusion. The wind outside, though mostly muffled by the thick walls, makes a low, mournful whistle as it forces its way through the crack, a sighing lament that seems to speak of forgotten streets and endless, unwatched nights. You pull your coat tighter, feeling the inadequacy of the fabric against this penetrating chill. It's a stark reminder, isn't it, that for all its formidable walls and intellectual sanctuary, even this great library cannot entirely keep the raw, indifferent world at bay. It's a quiet truth that seeps in with the cold, a constant whisper of the fragile boundary between the ordered mind and the untamed elements. That persistent chill from the poorly sealed window has now become a pervasive cold, seeping into every corner of the vast library. You pull your coat tighter around you, but the fabric offers little defense against the deep, bone-aching cold that seems to emanate from the very stone walls and high, vaulted ceiling. This isn't just a draft. This is the fundamental, uncompromising temperature of a truly grand, unheated Victorian building, a constant, low-level assault on your comfort. Your fingers, which moments ago were deftly turning pages or poised over a quill, now feel stiff, their tips numb and clumsy. You clench and unclench your fists, trying to coax warmth back into them, feeling the slow, sluggish movement of your joints. A faint tremor runs through you, a subtle, almost involuntary shiver that catches in your shoulders, making them hunch further into your neck. Your breath, when you exhale, forms a faint, ephemeral mist in the air, a visible testament to the chill that saturates the room. The gaslights, though beautiful and necessary for sight, offer precious little heat. Their flickering flames seem to mock your growing discomfort, their steady glow highlighting the vastness of the space, the sheer volume of cold air they struggle to displace. You shift in your wooden chair, trying to find a position that conserves body heat, but the polished oak seat feels like an extension of the pervasive cold, drawing warmth away from you rather than offering solace. The corset, which once felt restrictive, now offers an unwelcome insulation against your skin, trapping a thin layer of cold air against your torso, intensifying the chill rather than protecting from it. You try to focus on the book open before you, but the words blur, not just from eye strain, but from the insistent intrusion of the cold. Your mind, which craves intellectual exploration, is constantly dragged back to the undeniable physical reality of your shivering body. You rub your gloved hands together, the slight friction a futile attempt to generate warmth, your attention fractured between the profound thoughts on the page and the raw, unceasing demands of your own chilled flesh. The silence of the library, once profound, now seems to resonate with the quiet chattering of your teeth, a subtle internal rhythm of discomfort. You glance at the other lone figures scattered across the reading room, each hunched, each withdrawn, their forms indistinct in the dim, cold light. They too are silent witnesses to this unspoken endurance, each engaged in their own quiet battle against the biting chill. There's a shared understanding in the way they pull their shawls tighter or briefly stamp their feet, a silent camaraderie born of common hardship. It's a powerful thing, isn't it, to realize the sheer, unyielding effort required to pursue knowledge, to simply be asterisk, in a world that hasn't yet mastered the basic comfort of warmth. It makes you deeply appreciate the sheer resilience of the human spirit, its stubborn refusal to let the simple, biting cold extinguish the inextinguishable flame of curiosity and thought. The persistent cold still nips at your exposed skin, a constant reminder of the raw Victorian winter outside. You pull your coat tighter, but your fingers remain stiff, their usual dexterity somewhat diminished. Your gaze, seeking something new, something to distract from the chill, falls upon a small dedicated stand near the entrance. It holds a selection of newspapers, rolled and stacked, awaiting eager readers. You approach, drawn by a faint, almost sharp scent that cuts through the library's usual comforting perfume of old paper and beeswax. It's the distinct, pungent aroma of fresh ink, a smell that speaks of printing presses, bustling city mornings, and the immediate present. You reach for the topmost paper, its edges slightly curled. The moment your fingers touch the newsprint, you feel it, a surprising, subtle dampness. It's not wet but cool and pliable, as if the ink hasn't quite dried, or perhaps it's merely absorbed some of the crisp morning air. You carefully unroll it, and a crisp, dry asterisk crinkle sound fills the air, a series of sharp, rustling whispers that seem to cut through the deep silence of the library. Each fold, each unfurling is accompanied by this distinctive sound, utterly unlike the soft sigh of old book pages. As you smooth the sheet flat on the table, the gaslight catches its surface, highlighting the faint, almost iridescent sheen of wet ink. You notice a small, dark smudge clinging to your thumb where you held the edge a little too firmly, a direct, tangible mark of its freshness. The headlines jump out at you in bold, assertive type, proclaiming urgent news, scandalous events, and dire pronouncements from the outside world. This isn't history waiting patiently on a shelf. This is the very pulse of the present moment, raw and immediate. You lean closer, inhaling that potent smell of ink and paper, a scent that seems to bring with it the hustle and bustle of London streets, the shouts of newsboys, the clatter of carriages. The images on the page, crudely printed engravings, are still slightly soft, their lines not yet fully sharp. It feels like holding a piece of a story still unfolding, still moist with the dew of its creation. It's a curious thing, isn't it, to hold such a fragile, ephemeral document in a place built for the eternal, to feel the very physical dampness of news, destined to yellow and crack within days, in contrast to the centuries-old wisdom surrounding you. It's a powerful reminder of the relentless flow of time, the ever-present churn of the world, and the fleeting nature of even the most urgent truths. You hold the newspaper in your hands, the subtle dampness of its ink still a tangible link to the printing press. Your gaze isn't fixed on the local headlines anymore, but drifts further down the page, into the smaller, denser columns of foreign dispatches. Here the words are packed tightly, detailing events not from across London, but from across continents, across vast, churning oceans. You read of skirmishes in the northwest frontier of India, of new administrative decrees from colonial offices in distant Africa, of trade routes being established in the wilds of Canada. Each report, though presented as current, carries an unspoken weight, a sense of having traveled immense distances. The paper itself feels like a vessel, a fragile folded ship that has traversed thousands of miles, bearing the whispers of empire. You trace a finger over a geographical name, Bombay, Cape Town, Quebec, and a mental image forms, hazy and vast, of red-coated soldiers, of steaming jungles, of endless snow-laden forests. The scent of the fresh ink, so immediate moments ago, now mingles with an imagined exotic aroma of spices, of distant dust, of cold, clear air. It's a powerful sensory blend, linking the familiar library to the furthest reaches of the globe. But as you read, a subtle tension builds. The date on the newspaper clearly marks it as yesterday's London news, yet these reports from the Empire are weeks, sometimes months, old. An earthquake in Lahore, a political crisis in Cairo, an exploration party's discovery in the Congo. These events have already played out, been debated, perhaps even resolved by the time they reach your hands. You feel the immense, frustrating gap of time and distance, the sheer effort involved in gathering, transmitting, and printing these accounts. The empire is connected undeniably, but by a chain of information that moves at the speed of a steamship, a telegraph cable, and a printing press. You notice a small, almost desperate plea from a missionary in Zanzibar, requesting supplies and more fervent prayers, his words now a month out of date, his circumstances likely changed for better or worse. It's a sobering reminder of the isolation, the sheer gulf of communication that separated the heart of the empire from its sprawling limbs. This isn't live news, it's a carefully curated echo, a retrospective glance at a world that is always just out of immediate reach. It's truly profound, isn't it, to sit in this quiet central space, holding a flimsy sheet of paper that, despite its damp ink and crisp crinkle, represents such a slow, laborious connection to an entire global network. It makes you feel the sheer scale of the Victorian Empire, not as a rapid, instantaneous web, but as a vast, magnificent tapestry woven thread by painstaking thread, each piece of paper a vital, yet inherently slow, link in its incredible, sprawling story. You finally fold the newspaper, its fresh ink a vibrant but fleeting echo of the world outside. Your fingers still carry the faint, slightly rough texture of its cheap paper. But now your attention is drawn to a small, almost hidden alcove, not deep within the forgotten sections, but nestled near a grand, polished display cabinet. It's here that the light from a nearby gas lamp seems to linger, glinting off something truly exquisite. You approach slowly, a subtle sense of reverence guiding your steps. On a solitary, velvet-lined shelf apart from the more common volumes rests a single slender book. It's not particularly large, but its presence utterly commands attention. The binding isn't dark leather, nor is it rough cloth. This is something else entirely. You reach out, your fingers hesitating for a moment before making contact. The first sensation is one of incredible smoothness, a cool, almost silken touch that speaks of the finest, most supple calf skin. But then, as your fingertips glide across the surface, you feel it. An astonishing landscape of intricate detail. The cover isn't merely flat, it's a raised topography of embossed patterns. Your thumb traces the delicate, flowing curves of a deeply pressed floral motif, a vine perhaps, or an impossibly intricate thistle, its thorny edges surprisingly soft to the touch. Each petal, each tiny leaf, is rendered with a precise, almost microscopic artistry, creating a tactile masterpiece. You feel the sharp, crisp edges of what might be a family crest or a complex monogram standing proud against the smooth leather. It's almost three-dimensional, a miniature sculpture bound around a book. The color of the binding is a deep, rich emerald green, so dark it almost appears black in the dim light, until a shift in the gas lamp's flicker catches a hidden highlight, revealing its true, vibrant hue. Fine lines of gold leaf, applied with painstaking care, trace the borders of the embossed patterns, gleaming with a muted, ancient luster. This isn't just a book. It's an heirloom, a piece of art designed to be treasured, to be admired, to convey prestige. As you turn it gently in your hands, the weight is surprisingly light, almost delicate, a stark contrast to the heavy, dense tomes you've encountered elsewhere. The book feels cool and utterly clean, devoid of the grime of public handling, the scuffs of careless use. It whispers of a private collection, of careful ownership, of a world where beauty and craftsmanship were paramount. You notice the spine, equally adorned with an elegant, almost whispered title barely visible in its subtle gilt lettering, as if its true value is meant to be felt rather than loudly proclaimed. It's truly remarkable, isn't it, to encounter an object in a public place that so clearly embodies a sense of personal history, of bespoke luxury, a testament not just to the words it contains, but to the extraordinary skill, the unwavering dedication, and perhaps the immense wealth that went into its very creation. It makes you wonder about the person for whom such a treasure was made, and the stories they truly valued. You hold the exquisite volume in your hands, its embossed cover a cool, silken tapestry beneath your fingertips. The delicate gold leaf glints, catching the gaslight in subtle flashes, each shimmer a whisper of immense craftsmanship, of hours poured into its creation. This isn't just paper and ink. It's a statement, a tangible symbol of a certain kind of wealth, a certain kind of discerning taste that values the aesthetic as much as the intellectual. Unlike the grimy shared penny dreadfuls or even the weighty communal tomes you've encountered, this book carries no trace of other hands. It's pristine, immaculate, almost radiating a quiet, self-assured arrogance. You imagine it resting on a highly polished mahogany desk in a private study, bathed in the soft glow of a bespoke reading lamp, perhaps alongside other equally rare and beautiful editions. It's not merely a source of knowledge. It's a treasured artifact, a prized acquisition, an object of envy. The content within its pages might be profound, even transformative, but the very act of possessing such an item speaks volumes before a single word is read. It suggests not just a love for learning, but a deep-seated desire for status, for the subtle admiration of one's peers, a quiet proclamation of refinement. You feel the smooth, unbroken spine, the tightly bound leaves, all contributing to an aura of exclusivity, of something set apart from the common world. This isn't a book to be hastily dog-eared or carelessly marked with ink. It's a piece of carefully preserved luxury, a testament to an elevated position in society. You gently run your thumb over the intricate crest, feeling the raised design, the almost imperceptible texture of its fine details. It feels less about the humble pursuit of universal wisdom and more about the cultivation of a personal, intellectual empire, a collection designed to impress as much as to enlighten. The scent it carries is not of public dust or hurried hands, but of expensive paper and the faint, exclusive aroma of a private, well-appointed room, carefully maintained, untouched by the common throng. It makes you wonder if some knowledge, when cloaked in such ostentatious beauty, becomes less about the truth and more about the vanity of its owner, a reflection of their ambition. It's a peculiar twist, isn't it? How the very vessel of wisdom can, through its sheer opulence, subtly shift the intention from humble learning to proud display. It reveals that even in the hallowed halls of knowledge, the powerful human desire for prestige can shine just as brightly as the genuine pursuit of truth itself. You carefully place the embossed volume back on its velvet shelf, its exquisite craftsmanship a final gleaming punctuation mark on the idea of possession. Your gaze, however, now seeks something entirely different, something lighter, a contrast to the weighty themes and the chill that still permeates the grand hall. You find yourself wandering towards a low, charming section of shelves, almost tucked away, where the books are smaller, their covers often brighter, hinting at less formidable content. Here, amongst worn copies of adventure stories and children's primers, one particular book catches your eye. Its cover, though faded, still depicts a whimsical scene, a group of tiny, mischievous fairies dancing in a moonlit glade. The title, in looping, playful script, reads, Tales from the Whispering Woods. It's an old, well-loved copy, its corners soft and rounded from countless readings. You pick it up, feeling the smooth, almost velvety texture of its well-handled cover. It's light, almost insubstantial, a stark contrast to the heavy tomes you've recently examined. As you ease it open, a faint, sweet smell reaches your nostrils. It's not the robust aroma of beeswax or the sharp tang of fresh ink. This is something sugary, something decidedly out of place in a library. It's the delicate, lingering scent of vanilla and cocoa, a whisper of confectionery. You turn a page, then another, the crisp, thin paper rustling gently. The illustrations are charming, detailed, drawing you into a world of enchanted forests and talking animals. But then, as you turn to a particularly vibrant depiction of a tiny gingerbread house, your finger brushes against something slightly stiff, almost gritty, nestled between two pages. You nudge the pages apart and there it is, a small, flattened piece of confectionery wrapper folded almost in half. It's old, its colors faded, but the faint, shiny residue on its inner surface is unmistakable. and clinging to one edge, a tiny, almost crystalline fragment of what looks like hardened sugar, brown and sticky, a miniature fossil of a forgotten treat. You touch it, feeling its rough, sugary texture, then instinctively bring your finger to your tongue. The taste is immediate and clear, a faint but distinct sticky sweetness like dark chocolate mixed with a hint of vanilla, a tiny ghost of a hidden bonbon. It's a curious little discovery, isn't it? This small secret indulgence tucked away in a fairy tale. It speaks of a child perhaps finding a moment of pure, unadulterated joy in the magic of a story, a fleeting rebellion against the stern decorum of the library. It's a tangible link to a simple, unburdened pleasure, a sweet whisper from the past, reminding you that even in grand halls of wisdom, there's always room for a little bit of hidden magic. The faint, sticky sweetness of the forgotten bonbon still lingers on your tongue, a ghostly taste of childhood rebellion. Your fingers, now clean of any confectionery residue, turn the thin, worn pages of Tales from the Whispering Woods. The initial illustrations are pure magic. Plump, rosy-cheeked goblins peeking from behind luminous toadstools, or shimmering, ethereal sprites dancing on spiderweb hammocks. Each image, though faded with age, still bursts with a vibrant, otherworldly charm, drawing you effortlessly into a realm of pure, unadulterated fantasy. You can almost hear the rustle of tiny wings, the distant peal of elfin laughter. You find yourself tracing the intricate patterns of a fairy's gown with your fingertip, a small involuntary smile playing on your lips. This is pure escapism, a direct portal to a simpler, more wondrous world.